program that they did prepare for him was second to none. Like really, like, I mean, really. And it speaks to the care that he had for his family and his family had for him, the tributes, the words of encouragement, and all that, like just tremendous. And I know, of course, there are others who have suffered deaths this week and in other weeks. So I want to make sure that I also mention them. You know that I'm very careful when I say these things because I don't like to speak about a person that I don't know. And when I do speak about anyone, that means someone else that I've left out. And so I want to apologize in the first instance in that regard, but I do want to recognize that for everyone who is going through a time of tragedy, that we do think of you at this time.
Yeah, and just for the Cox family, Burton's sister lost her husband as well. So that's a double blow for that family as well.
That's correct.
And he will be buried shortly as well.
Correct. And yes, I understand there's a story behind, not a story, there's between the two of the two males, actually, there was a commentary. So, but I'll leave that alone for now. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for joining us here on Magic 102.7 on your Sunday evening for another edition of Insight. I smile now because this is the second week whereby daylight saving time has started and person would be out and about as opposed to in as it would be during the winter time before daylight saving starts. But I do know that there are many others who drive around. Some tell me all the time that, Anthony, this station is on 24/7. They listen to it all the time. And commendations to Brother Glenn, Sister Gwen, and the entire IIC family because they have collectively decided that this is going to be the radio station for Bermuda, whereby this talk show. And if you want to talk, you want to tune in to some like live commentary, it's this station.
Awesome.
Every day of the week, I think, except maybe Friday, there's a talk show. Yeah, every day besides Friday. On Thursdays, there's the jazz show, but the rest of them are actually talk shows. And so I want to say thank you, and thank you again for tuning in. Now, tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different, and that is we're going to interview an individual who is not directly, but in the general sense, talked about all the time in the context that we always say, we say this, which is an exaggeration, right? That everyone's leaving Bermuda because it's nothing for me to do. I can't make it, all those kind of things. And clearly, behind each decision, there are a lot of different factors. And so tonight we're going to interview one person, have a conversation with one person about his journey. And as I said in my promo, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good thing is that I think if you're listening and you stay tuned, please, you understand that he is a tremendously gifted person. I will say that I've known him for more than 40 years because we did go to Work Academy together. And there's a strong bond of persons who went to Work Academy, as there are for other schools. And that's why I commend all schools, by the way, because when you go to school, high school, and even university for that matter, you form friendships that last a lifetime. And then once you get through that system, it's always there. And there's always the reference, there's always a laugh about what happened at the school at that time and some little things that would have taken place. And then there's some, just some things you want to forget about, but others always remind you, And so I'll just say all that to say thanks again to all those that are listening. And good evening to Mr. Michael D.W. Jones, because I know there's an E. Michael Jones down in St. George's, for example. It's not the same one tonight. But good evening again to Mr. Michael Jones. How are you?
Good. Good evening, Bermuda. We had to be specific about the initials because there's also Mike Jones, the rapper, and I'm certainly not a rapper here, not at all. But
but you are a musician.
Yes. It was in the music class.
There you go. So tell us who you are in your own words, and then we have a conversation about this journey you've been through and all those kind of things.
Yeah, I think when we have these types of conversations, it's good to set the context so you understand. So yes, I'm one who came back, but it's important to understand why I went so that we can put it in there.
But tell us who you are first.
Yes.
Go and get to that. That's the real the crux of it all.
But part of me going is part of who I am. So for the last 4 decades plus, basically I've been in IT, primarily in software development. So after careers at HSBC and Fidelity Investments down on East Broadway there, in 1990, I started my own consulting firm.
1998 or 1990?
1990.
990, okay.
1990. So this January, I celebrated 36 years as an independent software consultant. And what that simply means is that I used to, and still do in certain forms, is to be engaged by companies to come in and develop a software program for them to run their businesses and so forth. So I've worked for all sorts of companies, small, large, Bermuda companies. I worked for some companies even overseas, primarily in software development. that was the main thing. Then about 2015, when we decided to go abroad, and I'll talk more about that later, the focus on what I was doing took sort of a shift, and it shifted primarily from software development into data and data analysis and so forth, which then led me down a different path. And then eventually, even after the data path and the artificial intelligence and so forth, the last couple of years, I've been looking at ethics and how we can sort of bring ethics into this AI space. And not only that, integrity and ethics, and how can we actually bring that into the world? What does it look like? How can we assess it and so forth? So my journey has been a technical one, and now has taken sort of a philosophical turn, and now I'm bringing it back to a technical one again, in developing AI tools to assess and to track things like ethical outcomes and so forth.
Okay, but this is old school. Who are you?
Yeah.
You're at Work Academy. Parents,
Yes.
brothers, give us some context. Let people know, that's there.
That's
You
actually
play
good.
football,
That's
all that kind of
good.
stuff.
That's good, because what I do is not who I am. Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So went to Warwick. Yeah, I used to play football. Actually, a lot of people don't know I even play cricket in Bermuda.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Run at
No.
Western Stars.
Okay.
And I was the manager, run at Western Stars for a while when we were Triple Crown
Oh, okay.
champions and so forth. So sports was there. I even played cricket in commercial league. I played soccer coming up for PHC Zebras, and then Southampton Rangers as a youth person and so forth. And it got, my teams were so varied. One time I was on the golf course, one of my good friends, Jeff Richardson, said to me, he said, "Geez, Mike, you got more clubs than Jack Nicklaus." And so, in other words, it was widespread.
Yeah.
So sports was there. And then also outside of that, we have my faith journey as well, for, early 2000, coming forward. And again,
Okay.
we were at the same church as
Yes.
well. Yeah. At, First Church down in North Shore. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been involved in so many different things. And, I have a son who's over in the UK still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's, we took him over to finish his schooling and so forth, and he's still over there. He won't be coming
Okay.
back, but yeah.
How old is he?
Yeah. 27 years
Okay.
old. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Hold on. Okay. So let's now, we're going to get into your professional, Michael.
Yes.
But help us to understand the actual decision process, because, okay,
Yeah.
as we know, right, certainly right now, and you're talking about 10 years ago,
Yes.
give or take.
Yes.
In the more recent times, it's almost been like people leave Bermuda because they can't make it, or there's always
Yes.
this drama or always negativity, right?
Yes.
And so, and again, to listening audience, as you know, I don't do my shows in terms of give out all these questions and comments. It is actually a spontaneous conversation. And so I know Mike, we went to school together at Work Academy way back when, and I saw him this week actually, and we talked about coming on the show. And so some of the questions I'm going to ask him, it's because I don't know.
Yes.
And it is spontaneous, and he doesn't know what my questions are going to be. So it's going to be a real spontaneous conversation. But certainly, you'll be invited to call in or send your message if you choose to do so. As you know, send them in via WhatsApp on 538-8683. You can do it on Facebook right now if you choose to do so. And after maybe a half or 45 minutes, we open up the lines to your calls and ask whatever question you may have. And so now let's get at it. What was the context of you deciding to leave Bermuda?
Right. So initially, what it was all about, it wasn't that I was dissatisfied with Bermuda,
Okay.
and so forth. In a sense, it got to the point where my son, he was at Cedar Bridge, was moving into his third year, and he had to pick his subjects.
He was around about 14, I guess?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, around about 14. So moving into S3, and he had to pick his subjects. And when we went through the exercise of picking the subjects, knowing what my son was about and where his gifts and skills were, all IT and stuff, we looked at it and said, well, maybe we should consider, because a lot of those subjects for those next 2 years, it's probably not stuff he's going to be using at all.
Wow.
So maybe we should consider then to go on a specialist IT track. And then that's when we decided to do some research, and we found the BTEC program that was over in the UK, which was a comprehensive sort of IT sort of track. And as I understand it, some of the schools here use BTEC.
And that's literally BTECA?
Yes, BTEC,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay.
And it's not the same as GCSE, but it's another sort of pathway that you can actually go.
Okay.
And so what we do, so the motivation was we're going to go to the UK so that he can finish his schooling.
Okay.
And so we had made that decision like in May.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have our passports. We sent it out.
Right.
And so as soon as the passports came in June, we then packed up from Bermuda. In July 1, we landed in
Wow.
the UK that quick.
And what happens there in terms of preparation, like the mindset, because you can't just leave, the next day be somewhere else, about housing, about accommodation, about
Absolutely.
finances, about all the things, like even where you're going to stay, all that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Well, you see, the girl was, and I thank God for my wife because she's right there with me
Mm-hmm.
when we're doing all this. So everybody's on the same sort of page. So I done research while we was waiting for our documents to come, our passport. I then done research on different places and stuff where I knew nothing about where we were going to stay and so forth. The only time I had been to the UK before that is when I joined Fidelity. I worked 6 months in Tunbridge Wells.
Okay.
And that was in 1986. So that was a long time ago.
Gotcha, okay.
And so forth. So what we done, I did research online, found some real estate people and so forth, had a look at that. At the same time, knowing that I was going to go over, and we decided that we were going to stay because he couldn't go by himself.
Okay.
In May, I set up a company in the UK. I already had my company in Bermuda, but I
okay.
set up a company in the UK.
Yes.
And the reason why I set up the company in the UK was to be tax efficient. So in other words, when I go to the UK, that would be the company that I would actually work for. And that made things a lot easier when it came to transferring money back and forth and doing certain things.
Well,
yeah.
okay.
And, so anybody who's going to decide to get up and go, there's tax issues involved in moving to the UK.
Okay.
Right? So if you're in the UK after 18 months and you're a tax resident, then any of your worldwide income is taxed.
Okay.
It's
after,
taxed.
After
So
18 months.
After 18 months, you become tax residents.
Okay.
And so once you are taxed, not 18 months, sorry, 180 days, sorry, more than half a year,
Wow,
put it that way,
okay.
yeah. You become tax resident. So any money you make anywhere in the world is taxable, okay? And so one of the things that I did to prepare up front was to set this company up as a vehicle to be tax efficient for myself while I was in the UK. So I set up the company, I did some research, and I made contact with certain real estate people and so forth. And so when we got on the plane July 1 and went over, I then went to those real estate people. We didn't close right away on the property that we were renting. And so for a period of a couple of weeks, I was staying in a hotel.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But see, here's the thing. I had the funding to do that. Not everybody has the funding.
So it was preparation.
to do that.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
it's having the funding and preparing as well, which made the transition a lot easier.
Oh, okay. Just fully funded. And again, to the listening audience, thank you for joining us here once again on Magic 102.7 on your Sunday evening for another edition of Insight. Our guest, it's really been on for a few minutes so far, and I'm intrigued just to ask some more questions in terms of he said he left, he prepared to go basically because the impetus in this case was his son wanted to do a specialist IT computer type program, and he felt that it was better to be there. I'll ask some more comments and questions rather in terms of, you said that you believed
Yes.
that it, as part of the education system,
Yes.
what he would learn from, I guess, in the senior years would not all be used, and you felt that he could be more focused.
Right. So
Okay.
so there's a couple of things here. So I think part of the coursework was, let's say, art and maybe some Spanish and so forth. So, and then I looked at what the next year would be. And to me, why have him go through those 2 years and then go over there to go to university and so forth, and not have that specialist IT stuff.
Oh, okay.
So the idea was we took him over there, put him into City and Islington College. For any Arsenal fans out there, it's right down the road from Arsenal,
Right.
Arsenal's field. But anyway, we put him in there. And so he done the BTECs, level 4 or whatever, and then that prepared him like A levels to go to university. Then he went to the University of Portsmouth.
And I guess then, so during the BTEC process, he
Yeah.
did not have to take like the languages and whatever. It was core stuff that's going to really focus him.
Maths and English is with everything.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm talking about like an actual language, for example.
No, he didn't have
Okay.
to do that.
Okay.
But the beauty about that format, though, is the IT thing. Like they would have to go in and evaluate a business, a sort of imaginary business. This business needs A, B, and C. What do you recommend?
Oh, you mean
Why
real
do
life
you recommend?
case studies?
Absolutely,
Okay. Okay.
absolutely, and that's why I sort of like the program, because what they were getting out of that is that even if they didn't go to university, they were ready to go to be in the workforce.
Okay.
Because it prepared them for that. So that's another route that people take. It's more vocational in the UK.
Understood. Wow. Okay. And so that's two different things then. I took you off track in terms
Yes.
of your preparation. You had everything organized.
Yes.
And then when you went there, you had planned to obviously rent a place.
Yes.
And then when you first got there, you lived in a hotel.
Yes.
But you had prepared yourself financially to be able to be there for a little while.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So the finances was already in place. That's number one, because I wouldn't have been able to just on a dime jump up and go from Bermuda if I didn't have that.
Okay.
Because why is that important out there? Well, one of the things out there, they're very strict in regards to referencing and so forth. So when you come from Bermuda, the problem is unless you have a guarantor,
Yes.
right? You got to pay cash. You got to pay up front. Now, I had no problem with that because actually I prefer to do that because it gives me some negotiating power when it comes to lease and stuff. So if I'm going to do a whole year lease or a 3-year lease or whatever, I like to negotiate something upfront to get the rent down and so forth. But I was in a position to do that.
Okay.
Not everybody would be in a position to do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when we first went there, we actually every time you see a game at West Ham now, the stadium, the Olympic Stadium.
Yes.
There's these big high rises in the back. That's where we stayed.
Okay.
So the athletic apartments they had for the Olympics, a developer sort of redeveloped and made them these high-end apartments. So that's where we stayed when we first. So it was right there in Olympic Park.
Okay.
And then you had the homework was there's doctors, there's the hospital there's the grocery stores and everything, so we can just walk around. And it was like a walking city, a walking area anyway.
Okay.
So that was the initial sort of research we done, and it was just a matter of setting that out. But certainly having the capital in hand was very helpful, made it helpful to be able to, stay in the hotel while we're waiting to close on the property, and then also in negotiating the property and getting that sorted out.
Okay. And so once you were there after what? A few months or a few weeks, you said? After 2 months, you got settled accommodations-wise?
Well, after 2 weeks in a hotel,
Okay.
in the Stratford Mall, some people will be familiar with the Stratford Mall. It's like the biggest mall in London or whatever it is.
Okay.
And right next to the Olympic Stadium. So 2 weeks at a hotel there, then we moved into the apartment. Like
Okay.
I said, we was in the high rises there. And we stayed there for about 18 months. And then we moved to North London, so it's more on the west side, more over by Wembley Way,
Okay.
that sort of area. and so we moved from the flat, the apartment, into semi-detached property. So it was a house with a
Okay.
yard and all that sort of stuff.
And what was the motivation to move from one to the other?
Well, it was partly because we were like the oldest people in the building, right? And so
Okay.
there were parties, and then you had students renting the building, right? And 2 and 3, and so they were bouncing basketballs on top of our head in hours in the morning.
Okay.
Now I'm working in Bermuda and at Bermuda's time and so forth. So the issue was if I'm kept up all night and all the rest of it, that then gives me headaches in the morning. So eventually we got to the point where we said, well, we're had enough of it. We'll go and we'll rent a semi-detached. And again, having the capital to do that allowed us to make that move.
Okay, so you just said this, but so even though you was in the UK, you were still working, whatever you were doing in Bermuda, your contracts were still doing what you were supposed to do.
Absolutely. So what I had, because they said the first thing I did, I set up a company.
Yes.
Right? So the Bermuda company stayed in place, right? And I then worked for the UK company, right? And then the Bermuda company hired the UK company to do its work.
Well, okay.
Right.
And how did you know that stuff in terms of that planning, right? Is not part of the normal plan for...
No. That's me. I researched it and tried to figure out how this could be. I had to make it tax efficient because we were.
Keep on saying tax efficient, by the way.
It is.
For all of us, help us understand what you mean when you say tax efficient.
Well, first of all, like I said, once you're there past 180 days, you become tax resident, and that means any income you have, it's liable for tax, right? And so, there are different ways that you can, using a company, just like they do here in Bermuda, I guess, using a company, you can make it more tax efficient. So money comes into the company rather than directly to you and so forth.
So effectively, you was able to save money by having a company set up as opposed to earning it personally. Okay.
Right. Because here's the thing. I had to, the net of it, if you were going to stay over there, right, it had to cost me less than if I lived in Bermuda, right? And that's why we were able to do it. It didn't make sense us going back and forth. So we were able to do that, number one, because of the way I set this thing up. And then number two, my job allowed me to do that because I can work from anywhere in the world.
Yes.
Not everybody, if you get up and, you go to the UK, then you have to find a job and so forth. That's a different story. That wasn't my story.
Okay. Yes, understood.
Right?
So realistically, you didn't have to find a new job. You were able to just work wherever you are.
I had to continue on. Well, I couldn't just leave my clients anyway.
Yes, okay.
Right? And so I still had clients in Bermuda and continued to serve them. And eventually I tried to sort of wind those down and so forth.
Okay.
And so, it was, and for me, again, that was more efficient.
Yes.
Because coming to the UK, I would have to start from scratch and so forth. And their billing rates is nowhere near what our billing rates and stuff are here.
Right.
And so it made more sense, again, for me to function in that way, work remotely with my clients in Bermuda, set up the company there, make everything tax efficient, and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so you went over there. Basically, it was seamless in my words because you didn't have to get another job. And you moved around a bit because of the accommodation the children were getting on your nerves, or the young person getting on your nerves and stuff. And so, and then you moved, and then what happened there in terms? Just trying to get us not detail, but just get a sense as to okay, fine, because you were there for how long? 10 years, right?
10 years,
give or take. Okay.
Yeah. So this is how
the first 2 years in the Olympic Village, I want to call it.
Yes.
Then you moved
to North Finchley, and then out by Wembley and so forth. That property didn't quite work out because although we had a great landlord, he tried to fix everything himself, but when he tried to fix it, he made it worse. So for me, it wouldn't work for me.
Okay.
So then I moved from there to South London in Surbiton into a townhouse, and that was a 3-year lease because basically I was working off of 3-year leases.
Okay.
Right. So I can lock the radium because the rents go up, and also basically try to lock the rent in for that 3-year period, and then but I paid my rent like every 6 months.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So okay.
So I had to be in a position to do that.
Yeah.
But then that negotiated me.
You save money.
I can save money if I can, but again, a lot of times they don't care if you pay up front or not. They still want to charge you. They still want to charge you whatever it is. But I was able, sort of, to do that because I was prepared because the rent had to be paid anyway.
Yes.
And if I was in a position to do that, right, it made it easier.
And you keep on saying that you were able to do it, right? But you also said that earlier on that your decision to go to the UK wasn't like a long plan. It was more like not spontaneous, but also in response to your son's decision in M3, right?
Yeah, finish the school. But
so you just happened to be preparing financially in any event.
Well, yes, most people will do that. But
actually, no, that's the point.
Well, again, but then I was working.
Okay.
So I was able to, and this is the key thing, Anthony, here. I keep saying I had to compare it to Bermuda. Did it make sense for both me and my wife to stay out there with him? That overall cost for us versus the cost in Bermuda, it was cheaper for me to do that out there.
Okay.
Because if I would have stayed, let's say stayed in Bermuda and then put him in private accommodation or whatever, and all that, what I had to pay in Bermuda, right, it would be much more. I didn't have to pay for health care. Food was so much cheaper and better and so forth out there. Absolutely.
Why not pay for healthcare? You mean it was on the...
Yeah, you just, it's on NHS.
Okay.
And our experience with it has been quite good because we're relatively healthy. We don't have to wait in long lines and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And they're very proactive out there. Like, especially with men, like you don't even have to, they keep reminding you, it's time for your prostate test and all this sort of stuff, right?
Okay.
They do, so they're very proactive and so forth out there. And so the healthcare side of it, the rent was probably the biggest thing out there, but the food, the electricity, and so forth. Gas was expensive during the winter and heating and so forth. But again, the net, I was looking at the net. The net made it more sense for me to be out there and work that way. I would save more money in the long run.
So just to clarify for the listening audience, you're saying that under normal circumstances, it would be, let's say, you would stay in Bermuda.
Yes.
Your wife and son would be in the UK.
Yes.
And you would have to cover the cost of all these things.
Right.
And it was less expensive for you to go to the UK.
Yes.
Which meant that you were able to save all of your Bermuda costs.
Yes.
And still work and do what you got to get done.
Even if I'm got little extra costs and a little extra tax here and there out in the UK on what earnings I'm sending over, it's still cheaper.
Okay.
Because as a consultant, I said I'm an individual consultant. So even as a consultant, just the money that I paid each month for insurance for me, my wife, and my son here,
Yes.
that disappeared.
Okay.
And that was like just under $3,000 a month just disappeared.
Okay.
Because I didn't have to do that out there.
Sure.
If you see what I'm saying.
And so clearly, right, your situation is different in terms of the planning, the financial wherewithal, and those things. Do you have any comments for those that have gone or thinking about going that don't have that financial foundation to go?
Well, unless they have a guarantor out there or they have somebody they can go to while they then get themselves sorted out. That's the only thing. I mean, I don't. You can go out there, like some people go out there and they say, well, they'll just live on the benefits and
Right.
the rest of it. It's up to the individual to make that choice.
Okay.
But that's not, and I can't make a judgment call as
Right.
to whether that should be good, because I didn't go that route. It might seem that I have a certain opinion.
Yes.
And I don't want to come through that way. So, but the thing is, some people may go that route and they might live with people while they're out there while they get themselves on the things. Or some people go and never
Intentionally,
intentionally to do it. That's not my thing was to go out there, live out there legally, live out there illegitimately, and to get what we can from here.
Okay.
But here's one of the key things though. Once we got over there, and we came for my son to go to school, right? Just being in the environment and having opportunities, then I went back to school.
Okay.
Here's the thing. So we were living in Stratford. My wife, she got a job. She was working at the University of East London. So I used to go over there sometime. And as I said earlier, when we first went over, I started to move from software development into data analysis and so forth. And so I was interested in taking a data analysis course. So it was just a short train ride from where we stayed and so forth. But that data analysis course then changed into a master's of data science. And so the intent was for my son to go over there and do his schooling and stuff. But while I was over there, while he was in school, I was able to do schooling and so forth as well.
Okay.
While I was there.
A lot of times when I have guests, right, they use these words as just as a routine.
Yes.
Because they know.
Yes.
But for me, the listening audience, sometimes we don't know.
Yes.
And so I want you to explain to us rather, what is software development?
Yes.
How it's similar and how it's different from data analysis.
Okay, two different things. Okay, so if you want a program, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, someone designed that and programmed that. So Excel is a software program, right?
Okay.
It collects data from you and gives you screens and all the rest of it. Data analysis is a little different. And here's the analogy. You're an accountant. You know this. So every month we have a scenario. We put all our transactions in, what we buy, what we sell, what we pay out on expenses. At the end of the month, we print off all these reports,
Yes.
right, to see our profit and loss and so forth. And then we forget about it until the next month. But that data that's sitting there has got lots of insights and information in it. So data analysis then takes the data and tries to extract insights. So instead of just printing off like a trial balance or profit and loss, it looks at the data. How are my sales actually going? How do they relate to one another? Is it seasonal? Is it not? So when you begin to analyze the data, then you get patterns in the data. Then you can start to make predictions. So in other words, that seasonality and stuff like that can be predicted. You can order more because you know. And so analyzing the data is really trying to take the data and get insight so you can make decisions.
Okay. And again, it's interesting. I mean, you knew more than me for sure about this, right?
Yeah.
In terms of even when you go online,
Yes.
how the whatever you're using,
Yes.
actually is able to analyze the data,
Yes.
and predict what's next. So, for example, if
Yes.
you happen to be a male that's, I don't know, between 30 and 40,
Yes.
and you're looking at whatever clothing,
Yes.
they know what you're going to look, what you're going to like
Yes.
that goes with that, the shoes and the rest of it. And
Right.
so that's how it's used in a more, in ways that we don't even understand.
Absolutely. Nothing is original. As soon as you sign on, even if you've never been to a site, they're going to be nudging you based on where you're signing on from, your IP address.
Wow.
So when you go onto Amazon, when you go onto YouTube, nothing is original. They already got the algorithms, the recommending systems, and all the rest of it there. So there's nothing original. So what you're seeing, they keep prompting you and nudging you, right, to get you to buy a certain way. I'll give you an example of how that works and how the machines are not that smart. Many years ago, my father passed away.
They are not that smart.
Huh?
The machines are smart.
They're not that smart.
Okay.
So these recommender systems. So many years ago, my father passed away. So I went online and was searching for, caskets and stuff like that. And so every time you go in, Google remembered it or whatever and started bringing the stuff up.
Right.
But for months after my father had been buried and so forth, it was still bringing that stuff up. Now that's a sensitive thing.
Okay.
But the recommending system didn't really understand that. It just knows that from its previous data, I went to these particular links, so it's going to just keep bringing it back up for me. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's part of what you said you now develop expertise in, which is the data analytics and then ethics also. And so maybe now we can touch base a bit on that.
Yes.
Before you go to the listening audience again, thank you for joining us here on Magic 102.7, your Sunday evening on another edition of Insight. Our guest this evening is Mr. Michael D.W. Jones. He is a Work Academy graduate and alumni with the same as me and many others, by the way. And he's talking about his journey into the UK, and now we're getting more into his professionalism in terms of the professional person that he is. And it's interesting because clearly we don't normally talk about or hear about people that go overseas in a planned fashion on a positive, constructive manner. And so thank you for that.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about some ethics around the data and whatever you've been doing.
So it's interesting, and that's a good point that you make. So my journey to the UK wasn't because I was dissatisfied with Bermuda or going to, and likewise my journey back wasn't because I was dissatisfied with the UK, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Yes.
So while I was out there doing the data analysis, I done my master's in data science and actually started my professional doctorate in data science, done the first year of it. And then when it came around to doing the research paper, I'm still running a business. So it was either the business or the PhD. So, the business actually took over. So I can always go back. But all the taught courses, so I have 90 credits of PhD level stuff that I can just go back and do again. But anyway, so after... after doing all the data analysis stuff and so forth, I moved again.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I want to do, and this, again, is important because it's part of the reason why I'm coming back to Bermuda, is that I've had 40 years of, doing all this stuff commercially and so forth. Now I'm in the legacy stage where things have to be more meaningful. Well, so what I wanted to do is this. Take all my skills that I have and build something, right, that was able to determine whether something is true and all that sort. So to build a system that can do ethical checking and integrity checking and all that, because I said, well, I've got the skills, I've got the machine learning and all this sort of stuff. I can put it together and build some agents and do something. So I started on a journey of trying to design this system. And this was way back before ChatGPT came out. So this was 2019, 2020, before it even came out, of how I can take information. I started with the Bible, actually. That was my impetus, to be able to read the Bible, right? And then be able to let people ask any questions about it, and the Bible gives it back to you. Or if somebody says something like a preacher is preaching, I can suck in his sermon and I can say, this is all wrong. That sort of stuff. That was the impetus, right?
But how would you do that though? So, for example, I say that, I don't know, the wall is pink.
Yes.
What do you do?
Well, you start with a source of truth. That's a problem with artificial intelligence now. If you suck in everything, stuff that's true and not true, then you run into problems. So,
how do you determine what's true?
Okay, that's philosophical, right? And we can go down a long route on that. But essentially, it's based on a source. So if you bought a car, right, from Toyota just down the street down here, right? Yes. And something went wrong with it and so forth, right? Would you go online and Google it like most people do and say, well, what's wrong with my car? And it comes back?
Yeah, how do you fix a tire?
Right, how do you fix a tire, right? Now, it can come back and tell you something. It may be right, it may not be right.
Right.
But the source of truth for that car is the manufacturer of the car.
Okay.
Right? And so if you go to the manufacturer who created the car, that is the source of truth for the car. So it's important because truth comes through creation. Right? It's a little philosophical.
No, very philosophical.
Right? It is. Right? It comes through creation. So everything that we do, right? Everything has a purpose, right? Everything in this room, this mic that we have here, these earphones that we have here, the purpose they have is the reason why they were created, because they add value to the world, right? But what is true about these earphones that I'm got on? It's not up to you to say what's true about it or me to say what's true about it. It's the manufacturer of these earphones that knows every part about it and so forth. That's the actual truth about it. And so we can find the source for truth. We can certainly find that.
And so just, I guess, as an example then, would it be a matter of, and because you used the example, the headphones.
Yes.
And so I go online and say, do the headphones work?
Yes.
And you're suggesting that there's a way to make sure that the answer comes back is based upon going back to the manufacturer's specifications for the headphones as opposed to some other source.
You go back to the creation. So in general, So I'll give you another example. You want to buy a car, right? And you're not sure what color car you want, right? You want. So there's a couple of ways you can find out what color cars there are, right? So you can go to Bermuda Motors down here and say, hey, I want to buy one of these cars. What colors do you have?
Right.
And they say red, white, and blue. Right? You can do that. And it comes up with red, white, and blue. Or you can come down every day and you can count every model of the car that you have and get the color. And you can come up with a list of colors. Right? That's another way of getting a list of colors. Or you can go to Toyota and say, what colors do you produce for these cars? And Toyota can tell you red and blue or whatever. Which one is correct? I mean, you don't have to answer.
No, but you go back to the manufacturer because they can tell you what they
produce.
To Ford locally would say what they get as opposed to what's available.
What they order.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And then the other one where you go around the world and you pick that model and you pick the color of that car for each of that model, it may have colors that the manufacturer produces, or if somebody likes a rare car, the manufacturer doesn't produce it in red, but sprays the car red.
Yes.
When you count that car, you say, oh, well, I can get a red one. But if you go to the manufacturer, he says, sorry, we don't have any red ones. So that last example is what artificial intelligence does. So it brings in all this data from everywhere. It doesn't know whether it's true or not. Right?
Okay.
And so when you use a ChatGPT or an LLM and so forth, when it predicts the next thing to say back to you, it's using that vast set of data that it's brought in, whether it's true or not. And that's where what they call hallucinations come back. So if in my example that I just gave you, if you ask the checkbox, can I get a red Toyota? The checkbox can come back and say yes, because in its data, it saw a red Toyota.
Okay.
Right? But the manufacturer doesn't produce any red Toyotas, right?
Okay.
But the chatbot thinks it's actually a valid color. Right?
Right.
And that's what we call like a hallucination. It's not really true, but it's part of the data that's actually been consumed by this machine model.
And so, based upon what you're telling us now, I guess, how do you filter out, or how do you go back to a data set that is in fact true?
Right.
So, because I'm still going to go.
It's about the source.
Okay, so right now, right?
Yes.
I go online.
Yes.
And like you said, use your car.
Yeah.
What cars does Toyota make?
Yes.
ChatGPT is going to say yes, it does make red.
Yes.
How do I get a different system, a different source that says no, it's not correct because this system? Like, how do I know which one is more accurate? How do you filter through them?
You go to the manufacturer.
So is it then? So what you're proposing to do yourself?
Yes.
Is to design a tool that does reference the manufacturer as opposed to this huge data set?
My source of truth is not the internet. So if I say consume a manual, like a biological manual on physiology and stuff, something that you use in university that's been approved and so forth. If I consume that as a source of truth and you ask me questions about the body, then the answers that I should give back to you based on that truth that I pulled in should be accurate and true.
And again, then, so as a non-techie,
Yes.
why is it then that, say, ChatGPT and the rest of those ones are so popular if they themselves are not really accurate or can be said they're not accurate?
Here's the thing, the word deception. If you think about the word artificial, what does it mean? It means
not real.
It's simulation.
Okay.
Artificial grass,
Yes.
right? Artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, right?
Okay.
Artificial insemination and so forth. Artificial simulates a real outcome,
Yes.
right? As close as possible. What these computers are doing nowadays, right? They're making it look so real, like if they did a deep fake of you, they're making the simulation look so real. If you don't know the person, you would think it's a person.
Wow.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so this is the thing. The problem with the LLMs, and people from the inside know this, and that's why you'll get whistleblowers from inside companies coming out and saying, well, yes, Google's designed this algorithm to be addictive and to pull people in and all that. So the public doesn't normally know all this stuff, right?
Okay.
What's actually going on. And so when people use ChatGPT, they get excited because it appears that it's talking to them. It appears real. All it's doing is predicting the next words. And what does it predict it from? It predicts it from all of the... So if it had 1 million sentences saying to do with chocolate, when you ask them something about chocolate, it's going to do a mathematical search and it's going to say, what's the probability of this next word that's going to come up based on those 1 million sentences it has? It doesn't have original thoughts. Those sentences are stuff it's scraped from you and me and on the web. This is why at the bottom of all of the ChatGPT, what does it say?
It says these facts might not be right or something, and to check them.
And to check them,
yes.
right?
Yes.
You only trust it once that disclaimer goes, right? You can't trust these. And one of the other things that I'm doing when I'm coming back is I'm doing 2 books. One of them is entitled The Forbidden Fruit, How Innovation is Stealing Our Humanity and What to Do About It. Because we are slowly becoming the computers.
Yes.
Right? And eventually with AI and all the rest of it, what are we going to be doing? Pushing buttons. And so that cognitive function we had about our brain and thinking and interacting with people and developing, all that starts to disappear.
And so I'm intrigued now.
Yes.
Again, listen, audience, I'm going. You can call in if you choose to now on 297-1027 to ask us or to clarify and say, what are you guys talking about? Which is, it's amazing in my mind. But my guest tonight is Mr. Michael D.W. Jones. He is a person who has been in Bermuda. I know him from school, so many, many years ago. He's been over to the UK. He's coming back now. And we're going to ask him in terms of that decision process as to why he came back, because I don't want to go too far and not address that or not have information about that. But what you're saying right now is quite interesting in terms of, you're right. Everybody now uses whatever they want to use, AI, right?
Yes.
Whether it be Copilot or ChatGPT, whatever, and gets information, which by and large is accepted as being factual.
Yes.
And you've introduced the idea right now that says, hey, come on, you guys, be careful, because it may not be based upon the data set.
Yes.
It is what it has, but that may not be accurate because it's able to introduce inaccuracies into its data set.
It doesn't.
It's quite scary.
It doesn't know what truth is. It has no consciousness.
Well,
like you and I, we can read something, right? And if it doesn't sound right or something, that's something, it doesn't, we get that in our spirit, in our soul, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
We get that because so AI has all these facts that it's sort of consumed, and then it regurgitates just based on maths. That's all probability. If 100 people say that the sun is red and only 2 say that it's yellow, when the LLM comes back, when you ask it what color it is, it's going to say the sun is red or whatever.
Well,
whatever the majority, it's a probability and it's a number. And then also the other thing is with LLMs.
What's LLM?
Oh, sorry.
Again.
ChatGPT.
There you go.
ChatGPT. They use ChatGPT is just like a keyboard that talks to what we call it means large language model. Okay. And large language model is like this big dictionary, the one that sucked everything in, right? And that's the one that gives you the answers.
Yes.
So ChatGPT is just an interface to that. Okay? And so
large language what?
Large language model.
Okay.
And these are there's ChatGPT is on OpenAI's one, and then Anthropic has something called Claude. I don't know if people have heard in the news that Donald Trump tries to stop the U.S. government from using Claude, because they want to use it for these nefarious reasons and so forth, and Anthropic wouldn't have it. So they want to kick them out of the government. So and then Google has Gemini. So a lot of people will know about Gemini, and it's these big things that are on the background that are not necessarily intelligent, but they're really sophisticated parrots, right? And some people may want to challenge me on this, but the sophisticated parrots. If you have a parrot in a room and all this talking's going on, the parrot's going to regurgitate some stuff. And if you put, a rocket scientist in there and he calls out all these theorems, the parrot is going to repeat that.
Okay.
He's going to appear intelligent. Geez, that parrot is intelligent. But the parrot doesn't understand anything it's just repeated.
Okay.
Here's another thing to consider when we're talking about intelligence, right? This goes back to like early pioneers in intelligence. There was a guy called John Piaget. He done a lot of work in intelligence. And even nowadays, teachers, they talk about getting children to play. Right? So intelligence, when we think of intelligence, right, it's really about coming up against a problem or something and then looking at that and then trying to figure out something to get around it, right? Okay. What the ChatGPT and everything is doing, it's actually imitating, right? What it means is it can copy what you're doing, right? But it can't really understand or change what it is it has in its memory. When we talk about intelligence, a young child can copy you. They do that pretty good, right? But when a young child plays and is outside doing something and then it comes up against a rock or a stick and has to move it, what does that child has to do? It has to think and it has to solve the problem. Now, when it solves that problem, right, it's a process what we call assimilation. Is that the problem gets solved, he moves the rock or the sand, but also now in his mind, he knows what to do. Yes. When a child imitates, it's just an imitation. Right, there's no assimilation, there's no learning, there's no dynamic process. And so these ChatGPT and all the rest of them, it's really simulation, imitation. right? And there's no consciousness, and that's why even the U.S. are trying to get away. You know, when they bombed the school, the very first thing,
Yeah.
that may even be an issue with AI. You know, because the school was next to something else and so forth. So some people have been speculating that, you know, it could be an issue that they use AI to do the target.
AI ended up having an inaccurate target.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the idea. And it's interesting because maybe that's what prompted, and I don't know this, I'm just speculating, so please forgive me for this, but maybe that's what prompted Anthropic to say, hey, look, you can't use our stuff to do this war stuff.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what would happen.
And so you believe that they may know that they're not as accurate. I mean, it is what it is, and that's why. Okay, I know not accurate, so don't use my stuff. So you can't blame me.
Right.
I'll tell you up front. It's
a moral
risk
thing.
is too great.
It's a moral thing. It's a moral thing. Do I want my stuff to be used to kill people? It's a moral thing. No. Do I want to use my stuff to be used for mass surveillance? Right? They say no, because it's a moral thing. So Anthropic is taking a moral stand.
Okay.
Right? So they can use it as a tool, but they can't use it to kill and so forth.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And so anyway, this whole truth thing, anyway, that sort of, because I wanted to build a system to be able to recognize when something was false and truth, I had to go on a journey. Well, what is truth? What does it mean, and so forth? And I won't go into all of it. Yeah. But essentially, that led me to ethics.
Okay.
Right. That led me to ethics. So and you know, most people when you say the word ethics, right? What you mean is somebody that does things right or whatever,
and purity
and purity and all the rest of it. But I have problems with that because. Take right now, even for artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
All of the big thinkers and the governments are saying, we need ethical AI. We need to make sure it doesn't do this, doesn't do that. My problem with that is you can't regulate ethical AI if you haven't agreed on what ethics is.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And so that was my challenge. So if I'm going to try and figure out if this is true or if this is good and stuff, what am I going to base that on? What is the source of truth that I'm going to use that on?
Right.
So anyway, I went on a journey and research. So I looked at all different types of ethics, virtue ethics, utility, all different types of ethics. You know, some people think things are good because of the utility, because it gives you something good.
Right.
Or some people think things are good because, he's an honest person. Or some people think things are good, he followed the rules.
Right.
So it's good. Or some people think, things are good because two people cooperate, that's good. But you can still cooperate evil, not based on truth, right?
Yeah.
And so it's all these different things. So all the philosophers now, right, they're going in and giving all their own different versions of what ethics is. But to me, that's subjective. It's not an objective version of ethics. So in other words, if you think ethics is because somebody is honest, right, how do you get to decide, that ethics is because somebody's honest or because the whatever? How do you get to decide?
And this is an extreme example, but it's extreme anyway. So that in many respects, right, we agree that killing somebody is wrong and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's right and wrong, I suppose. But a lot of stuff that we do is based upon like culture or ethnicity or that kind of thing. And so I guess my question now, a whole different question is, so what do you use as a reference point to come to your ethical position?
Right.
Or are you research or are you there?
So culture, right? Ethics always starts with the individual. So even if you have culture, even if you have organizations and so forth, ultimately, it's somebody's moral principles that override. So in other words, even if a group of people come together and say this is the right thing to do, whoever's leading that or whatever, leading that charge, it's actually an individual, either that's introduced that whatever. So culture, yes, there are practices and all the rest of it. I take you back to creation. Let me pose this to you. And why? Yeah, I'll pose this to you.
Are you going on a Christian perspective, or what?
No, principle. Okay, but it's equally Christian because that's how Christianity works as well. So here's the thing. So we all want to do things that are right? We want to do the right thing. Everybody wants to do the right thing. In order to be ethical, we want to do the right thing. I want to treat you right. I want to, not steal from somebody, not do whatever. Do the right thing. But my question is, in order to do right, you have to know what is good first, right? Now that's a different thing. So,
but is good always right?
Yes. Consider this. Consider our car, right? That or the microphones, not microphones, headphones. We've got these headphones, right? Somebody created these headphones, right? They had an intent. We put them over our ears, we do whatever, and they amplify the sound and so forth, right? And they created them with a form and function, the shape they have, and all that, and that gives us a clue of what they're used for, right?
Yes.
Okay, and so the manufacturer says, "This is how I've created these headphones. This is how you use them," right? And so my argument is that the manufacturer is the only one who can say what is good about the headphones, because if you use them according to the manufacturer, then they meet their purpose.
Well, that's interesting. Right? Remember, there's a company that I forget which one it was now, whereby the thing was, we don't make things, we make things better. And so their thing would be, they'll take those headphones, right,
yes,
manufactured by somebody else, and make them better. And so some would argue that they would know more so the value of the headphones than the person that actually created them. So there is a greater level of perfection, if you will, once the things are in existence.
No, because they would be completely different headphones.
Well, no, they would still look like that, but they just be enhanced.
No, but they won't be the same headphones. They won't be the same in design of the original headphones.
Wow, okay.
It's completely different. So what I'm saying, if I design, give you another example, right? I write a program for you to do a computer program, a piece of software, a payroll system or whatever. And so you enter some data in and it calculates payroll and does all that for you. And it adds two numbers up and so forth, right? I created that program, right? I'm the only one that determines what is good in that program. You can't change that. You can say, well, this shouldn't do this or that shouldn't do that. But I'm the creator of that program. So that's my authority, right? So when something is created, right, it gives us what is good about it. What's good about these headphones is that it blocks the noise out. It does whatever. Okay. Now, in order for us to do right with the headphones, we have to use them in order to make good. I just said good is canceling out the noise and doing whatever.
Right.
Correct? So if I then take these headphones and do this, look, watch me now. Is that good?
And for those that
is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, can they see?
For those that are looking on Facebook, you'll see he's actually got the headphones now. Rather than cupping his ears, he has them facing backwards, like behind his head. So go ahead.
So what I'm doing, this is not right. Why is it not right? Because the headphones were not intended to be used in this fashion, right? Yeah. If I use them in the fashion that the manufacturer created them, then I'm using them in a right way, and then they meet their purpose. We hear nice and clear and all the rest of it. So there's really three steps that I argue. Is three steps that I actually argue in regards to integrity and ethics. So first of all, we have to start with truth, because truth gives us what exists. And then from truth, we get what is good. So what is added to the world? Why is this thing exist? And then once we know what is good, then we know how to act right. So in my case, right, if I didn't know how to use these headphones, I could put them on upside or whatever. Right. Then they would be absolutely no use to me. Okay, right. So but I have to know the headphones go on this way. Right. Why do they go on this way? Because this is what's good about the headphones. Because this is how the manufacturer created them to work. So you said you go from truth. Yes. Before that, you have to know what's good. And what's the other one? You said three. Right. Right. Okay. So here it is. It's always seek truth, know what's good, and then do right. And one works on the other. So we get good from what is true, and we get right from knowing what is good. So our right conduct is manifesting that good, what is good about something. In other words, we're adding something to the world. Which is obviously more philosophical, right? The question, man, well, I'm going to use this example because that's my reference point, right? Yes. So let's take Christianity. Yes. Because not everybody agrees with it and all that kind of thing, right? And so
and thus, and then be forgive me because I'm going to use the example is, so we would say that God is the creator of mankind.
Yes.
But there's no way to prove that. And so how do you get to this point? You said that you got to start out with this thing about of truth and good and right. But from a Christian point of view, there's no way to prove the goodness of it all or the rightness, all that kind of stuff. So how do you put that into it?
How do you disprove it?
Well, think about that for a second. I have to take this call because the call has been very patient.
Oh, sorry.
To listen, audience, sorry. I know I'm talking very fast. I'm quite excited tonight. With the conversation. It's very different, that's for sure. But thank you again for joining us here on Magic 102.7 FM on Sunday evening for another edition of Insight. Our guest this evening is Mr. Michael D.W. Jones, someone who left Bermuda. He's come back now. He is a resident, very intelligent, very well accomplished. He is a graduate of War Academy. I said that only to say that, that's my reference point. I knew Michael. I met him about maybe, say, 40 years ago, I suppose, which makes me kind of old. And that's the conversation. Tonight, we're going to take a question, and we'll come back to it because it's an exciting and a different conversation. And I know many people will not agree. However, it is a conversation that we can have. And so, caller, thank you for your patience. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening. Good evening, gentlemen. Quick question.
A little closer to your mic, please.
What's that?
A little closer to your mic.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just quick question. Reference AI. How often is AI wrong?
Oh.
In other words, does AI have a defect in it? Let me give you a reference point.
Yes.
I work in hospitality management, and we used AI at the Luxor in Las Vegas to calculate numbers at the end of the year, guest revenue, and things like that. And what we found out was that the AI kept giving us wrong information. So does AI come up as a natural defect in it, or how does that go?
Right. Sorry. Is that your only question, caller?
Yeah, that's the only one.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm going to answer. Yeah, thank you for your question. That's actually a good question that a lot of people probably would want to ask as far as defects. A couple of things about artificial intelligence. So, depending on which, we talked a little bit about these LLMs or these models, like these big dictionaries or whatever. I'm trying to put it in simple terms.
A database.
A big database of words and so forth, right? The AI is only going to be as good as the data that it's actually used to train it. So I would say that if your AI is coming up with wrong numbers all the time, then it needs to be trained again or something needs to be done. The other thing that's key here is that AI is what they call is non-deterministic. And that's a big word, but it's just simple. It means that if you give it the same question more than once, it's going to come up with a different answer each time.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
That means non-deterministic. Now, for truth, which when we talk about truth is immutable, which means it doesn't change. So if I ask you, is the sun hot or is fire hot? Because fire is hot, and we know that's true, every time you ask that, it's going to come back with saying yes. Now, with AI, you can ask it the same question, and then it can come back with a different answer. And that's an issue. And that's why we can't use, it's difficult to use AI with things like when you're doing certain health tests that is critical to someone's, health and so forth. And because it has to be right, because you can't afford to make mistakes and so forth. So that caller, that is a good question. And that's why we shouldn't really trust it. But
I'm assuming though, hold on, caller. I'm assuming though that it can be factual in terms of you tell it, take 5 times 3, it's going to always give you the same answer.
Absolutely.
That's more factual.
Absolutely.
Got you, okay.
Yeah, and that's sort of constant, yes.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. On that issue of the headphones, from the manufacturing part, you mentioned that it's good. But then if you look into the scientific and health part of it, you'll find out there are some things that you're now being warned about in using those things on your ears because they could create bacteria inside of the ear, and of course could disturb your hearing years
Yes.
later. So, that all of that needs to be taken into consideration as well when something is being manufactured, and saying that it's good for this or good for that. But then when you look at the health part of it, you may find something that may not be as good as it said it's supposed to be. And then in the issue of, is anyone qualified to really speak, I would put it this way, for the Creator? Is anyone 100% qualified to speak for our Creator? I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. To my example,
yeah.
like how are you going to... So is Christianity true?
Well, it's two things. First of all, he mentioned about the earphones, and if we put them on and we leave them on too long, then we can get ear infections or whatever it is that they would say it could be an issue. Now, that issue there is separate from the headphones, meaning when we say something is good about the headphones, is that the headphones work as is they're intended. Now, if I put the headphones and I use them in such a way that they cause damage to me, that doesn't make the headphones less good. It's just that I've used them in a way that maybe I shouldn't actually use them. See, the headphones, what's good about the headphones is that they work as the manufacturer intended them to work. So if we then put them on our ears and leave them on too long and so forth, that doesn't go against the headphone. That goes against us not knowing the headphones. So that's a separate thing. Now, back to the Creator.
Yes. So, yeah, for argument's sake, no,
Yeah.
that's right there. Let me just be careful, make sure I understand
we
this.
should do that.
So people understand, I am asking a question to get clarity. That's all I'm doing, right? And so let's talk about that. So from a religious point of view, right?
Yes.
Some will say that, I don't know, Christianity is correct. Others will say that, I don't know, Buddhism is correct.
Yes.
So using your lens,
Yes.
how do you explain which, if any of those are correct or true or
Okay.
or ethical for that matter?
Right. Well, the reason why I used principal examples like the earphones and the car and stuff
Sure.
is to try and demonstrate a principle. Once we understand the principle that, there's everything that's created has a purpose,
Yeah.
right? And it's the intent of the Creator that determines the form, what
Yes.
shape it takes, and all the rest of it. So it's the Creator that makes the truth.
Yeah.
So then, once we understand that, then we can flip over to Christianity and see how we can apply that principle to Christianity, or apply that principle to Buddhism or Hinduism, and so forth. And so I don't make judgment about different religions, but what I do is, because this is a principle that the Creator has an intent, create something for its purpose, and once it's created,
Yeah.
it has everything for that purpose. If we take that in the context of Christianity, God is the Creator. He created the world. He's the only one that knows everything in the world. So every bit and piece in the world, in that sense.
Right.
So he's the one who orchestrated, plants taking in carbon dioxide and bumping out oxygen. He's the one who orchestrated the atmosphere. He's the one who orchestrated all the cells
Yeah.
and stuff. He knows every little bit and piece. Because he created it, he knows what's good.
And so is your argument then that Christianity is the only religion that uses a creator in
A
that sense?
single creator.
Well, period. I mean, others
Well,
will not say about, they don't talk about creation per se, they talk about different things.
Well,
but not creator.
my argument is that the Creator has authority.
Yes, it's clearly.
Right, and that's it. And then you take that and apply
So,
it.
okay.
So if you then look at Hinduism, Judaism, whatever, you then take that and try to apply it to it.
Okay.
So if you go to these polytheistic religions and stuff, there's not one.
Okay, fair enough.
One
And
creator.
again, I want to say that I don't.
Yeah.
Let's see right now. Based upon the nature of my show, I'm not going to go too far with that.
Yes.
Not because I'm afraid of conversation, but because it's just not the nature of my show. So that's fine. So thank you for that. And so What I want to understand now, you said it, but you didn't quite say it clearly, in my opinion, is because I think the audience wants to know is, so what brings Michael back to Bermuda?
Yes,
In a concrete sense.
Right. So you've got where I am. So I've been on this journey. I've gone over, done some data stuff, got into ethics, done that. I've done some executive courses at Oxford SAID Business School, executive leadership and artificial intelligence and so forth. So I've got all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so now my son is living and doing on his own. So
So it's now, you mean finish school, all that kind of stuff? It's like,
yeah, he's been living on his
living his
own
life.
since, yeah.
Okay.
So he's on his own, doing well on his own and so forth.
Okay.
And so there's nothing else that I sort of need from the UK. And so my motivation is purely intrinsic. There's no external reason why I should come back to Bermuda,
Okay.
except for something personal to me.
Okay.
My mother's getting older, and then there's some stuff that I want to bring back and do in Bermuda. Ethics, data analysis stuff,
okay.
Training, mentoring, all that sort of stuff. So that's really my reason why I'm looking to push through and come back to Bermuda.
Okay.
Even through, challenges of coming back and hitting the challenges, housing, of course, is a big challenge. It would have been very easy for me to purchase a ticket and go back to live in the UK. But we're still here. So, and the reason is that there are things that I have to do in Bermuda. Right? And that's why I'm coming back and pushing through a lot of this stuff.
How come you can't do those things from the UK, but still benefit Bermuda?
No. Well, there's a couple of things. You can.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me be careful because I know
Yeah.
I always give a disclaimer in terms of, I don't expect you to reveal like personal stuff.
Yeah,
that's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
But just in a general sense, as opposed to, because you said before, right, that you could work in the UK, live in the UK, and still benefit your clients in Bermuda. So why can't the reverse be true? Now you're in the UK and do what you want to do for Bermuda, but not do it in Bermuda because it's too expensive.
Well, it's a different model that I have now.
Okay.
It's a different model.
Okay.
So we moved from the commercial and moved into training, education, and mentoring.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's about relationships, right? And so being able to establish something in Bermuda, I'm trying to bring something to Bermuda that perhaps Bermuda doesn't have right now.
Okay.
And that's part of the challenge there. So for example, Data.bm is something I started years ago, and that's a curated collection of Bermuda data and analysis and stuff that I have personally. So one of the things that I want to do, because I believe in Bermuda, there's so much that's said that's opinions and not evidence through data. So I want to be able to challenge.
Do some fact checking.
Well, not only fact checking, but do full analysis so that not only to prove or disprove, but to inform policy.
Wow.
Right? And so some of the problems that we have in Bermuda, we're not going to be able to solve them because we don't know what the problems are. Right? We just assume we know. So having the data, doing the analysis and so forth, so we can look at particular things that are actually causing the problems, then we can do policies and stuff. And then the data, and then the data can be used publicly. The other thing is, when I was in the UK, I could go to the ONS, which is the equivalent of the Department of Statistics. I can get any data that I want. I can just go in and say, I want all of the census data. Or I want all of this, and I could download that, and I could do my analysis and all the rest of it.
Right.
I want that same facility for people in Bermuda, so that businesses and individuals, if they want data, they have the ability to do that.
Okay.
And it's important to bring this data and surface it publicly. And yes, we do have a census coming up, and I'm going to put a plug in for the census because everybody needs to take part in that. So it's going to create a data set for us, hopefully of truth, that we can use to try and solve some of the problems we have in Bermuda. And so my focus on data and data analysis, right? Right now, the Department of Statistics, they collect and produce official statistics.
Yes.
But that statistics is at what we call descriptive. So they tell us like the counts and they describe what's going on.
Yes.
I want to take it a next step further. That is to be able to take that information and then start to predict things and to see this is what's really causing this. So if I look at this really, really closely, I could see that, people aged 16 to 25 are really struggling in this area or whatever. So then we may need to have a policy that puts something in place that gives extra support to that group. But that will be supported by the data analysis.
That's interesting. And by the way, one of your colleagues,
Yeah.
and I say colleague in the sense of data analysis, whatever, is Mr. Cordell Riley.
Oh, yes.
He says, give a shout out to you. And I assume he would make available to you his skill set around this.
Absolutely.
About analysis and whatever the case may be. And what you're saying is interesting then, because a lot of times we say whatever we say,
Yeah.
and not knowing what the facts are. And so one of the examples actually is the fact that we talk about housing.
Yes.
And there isn't, in my mind, there is not clarity around what the problem really is.
Absolutely.
Because I know right now, off the top of my head, the Chamber of Commerce says one thing, the minister says something else, government says something else, and I say, for example, that guess what? We always talk about the fact that many people left the island. So if that's the case, where are all these houses? They didn't
Yes.
disappear. So that'll be something as an example by which we can now talk more factually about what is Bermuda's real housing challenge.
Right. The idea is you collect that data, we do the analysis on it, and then it's empirical evidence that we use to base policies. We can't base policies on anecdotes and stuff like that. Even though we're experiencing and we know something's wrong,
Yes.
I'll give you an example of just one example on the data. So let's take elections. You know, and if you take it out there, okay, so black people vote PLP and white people vote UBP or OBP and so forth.
Yes.
And is that really
So don't call her.
is that really true or not? So I had done some analysis and so forth. So when there's majorities, those two ends do happen. But then what about the middle majority when there's constituencies with very little majority?
Yes.
They never vote PLP. They always vote the other side. So when it's a very low majority and you have the mixture of black and white, when you look at those constituencies, they vote OBA. Now, that's only something that you can get from looking at the numbers.
yes.
Well, from the numbers.
Sure.
But that's just an example because you couldn't anecdotally pick that up because we say, well, historically, this is what happened. And then we make assumptions.
Okay.
So that, and then even when we look at elections, right? There were like 99 is 18. Like there were half of the elections, right? Have always voted for the same party,
But that's more than, yes.
right?
Yes.
So the battleground is just those other groups,
Yes.
right? And then
Although,
when OBA won in 2012, then you look at what 57, 60% turnout. That's all it was. You flip the turnout and you look at the trend line.
the low turnout would impact.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
so what I'm saying is we have these, we in the community that's been around a long time, we have these ideas.
Yeah.
But it's also great to have the numbers that actually show us that.
So is it? Sorry, hold on 1 second. So would it be what's the word now? Superficial.
Yes.
To try to characterize that what you're doing is to get better outcomes from the data that's been collected, like better data analysis to help Bermuda.
Well, what is produced, the Department of Statistics, their remit is not to do data analysis, it's
Right.
to produce official statistics. So they go as far as just describing. So, we have X number of black, X number of white, this percent here and that percent there and all that.
Yes.
That's just describing.
That's interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Inference says we look at all this data, and so we can take a section of that data and look at it, and then start to predict based on the relationships
Yes.
between that data. So it takes it another step.
Okay, fair
right?
enough.
And it's that type of analysis that we can use then to inform policy and do things
Okay.
because it will show us. It will show us more.
So I'll take this call and come back to you. Good evening, caller. Thank you for your patience. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening, Nancy. Quick question, just one.
Sure.
Has your guest ever did a data analysis on the volume of people that has left the island? That's my question. Listen no further.
Interesting. Thank you, caller.
All right.
That's an excellent question. And what we're doing is we don't have the data. That's one of my suggestions here is that we don't have an immigrant register.
Yes, that's correct.
Or anything. And one of the things I believe in the new census coming up, and this is why you must fill it out, is that they're going to be collecting this immigration information
Okay.
because we need to get a handle on it to see where it is.
Gotcha. Okay. And so I guess I'll ask now the anyway, ask a question, which is that recently in the media, there was the idea, well, first of all, you may be aware that the government is going through a process now. They have started, they're in the process right now, right, of doing some work around the public service pensions.
Yes.
In terms of trying to, what I call, stop the bleed.
Yes.
Make some change. And then what was interesting very recently is that the Premier said he's been overseas and is happy to announce he's going to have a partnership to develop a chat box, I think, around the predictions of, or to help people to understand the pension benefit.
Yes.
Right? And from that, many people have said this doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
In terms of others can do it at a lot lesser price, right? So basically what you've been talking about tonight, to what degree is this all part of it, or is this within your expertise or others' expertise to do it? Because subject to there being something I'm not aware of, it's a simple process, a simple calculation. So is this in your remit in terms of whether it be AI, whether it be calculation, whether it be modeling, or even based on your own background?
Well, here's my thing. My first comment is that the government speaks that it wants to upskill and train Bermudians in these emerging areas,
Yes.
AI and all the rest of it. But if they are going to do that, they need to show their commitment by demonstrating it. And given this pilot project to a company in Switzerland to do it on blockchain or financial services type thing, that flies in the face of that to me. That's the first thing. So that's the first thing is that that if the government are going to be genuine about upskilling people, and that's another reason why I'm back as well to advocate for that and for people here, then they must demonstrate it in what they do. The second thing, in regards to the pension calculator, I would say yes. I think something like that would be useful, and here's the reason why. Okay, let me. If I can. Do we have? I just want to give a quick.
Keep going. Yes.
Yeah. So in regards to pensions, right? It's quite simple. Right?
Yeah.
Pensions is like a long-term sort of savings thing, so that once you finish work, you got this lump sum, and then you can get some monthly payments and so forth.
Yeah.
So it's really simple. So there's this big bucket, and people put money in the bucket, and their money gets taken out to pay pensions and other things and so forth.
Yes.
Right? So it's quite. Most people will know that their pay gets deducted each month or whatever, a certain amount, whether it's a percentage of your salary gets taken out, and the employer matches it and puts it in this bucket. Other plans, because there are different types of plans, defined benefit and defined contributions. Other plans may take out a certain amount for every hour you work and so forth. But anyway, there's contributions that go in the bucket.
Yes.
Everybody who puts something in the bucket has to get something out the other side, right?
Yes.
But here is the challenge. When we take things out of the bucket, there are several different ways you can take them out, right? And that's what adds to the complication. So we know, okay, we'll put $100 in or whatever. But when it comes to taking your pension or doing things with it, there are several different ways. So once you get 65 and you want to take a pension, right? If you take a normal pension, that's what we call unreduced. There's no deductions and stuff. Then that's one amount, and you get that for life and so forth. But some people may want to say, well, if something happens to me, I want my wife to get the balance, right? So that's a different option that they take. Or some people might say, well, I don't feel like waiting to 65. I want to retire at 55 or 60, right?
Yes.
That's another option. And then some people will say, well, I don't like the plan I'm in. I want to take my money and put it somewhere else. That's another option, right?
Okay. Yes.
And then some people will say, well, I'm only got a little bit of money in this plan. I just want to take the money out. That's another option. Or with legislation here recently, we can do withdrawals up to 20% of whatever it is. So if you take withdrawals, that's another option. So we've got all these different options, right?
Yes.
And depending on which option you take, it's going to be different calculations, right? And so the idea is, my thing is, I think it's useful
to have a calculator
so that people can use scenarios,
Okay.
right? But for somebody who's a long way away from pension age, it's really not going to make too much difference to them.
Yes.
Because they could play around with scenarios, but their life can change in the next 20 years or whatever. But certainly as you're approaching retirement age, you should be looking at the different options. What will my pension be if I do reduce with something for my wife?
Yes.
Sometimes they even have this option where you can take a lump sum payment.
Yep.
But if you take a lump sum payment, it's going to be a reduced amount, right? And so we have all these different options. So the pension calculator will let you try out different scenarios.
Okay.
And the purpose of that being is that then it can inform your decision as to when you get ready to take your pension, you would at least have an idea of what type of pension that you're going to take. I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody's working now and they're not 65, but they need some money.
Yes.
So they want to take their pension now. And so they're taking it 5 years early or whatever it is. Now, when they take it 5 years early, there's going to be a deduction based on that, right? Let's say it's $100 a month or something that comes off. So they take their pension,
okay, gotcha.
and if it's $100 a month that's deducted from whatever their pension
Yes.
would have been, they might say, yeah, it's just $100. But take that over 20 years.
So, okay, that's good.
And then you see, oh, well, I've just given up $30,000 by taking my pension early.
I got you,
Right?
okay.
So it's scenarios, and I like the idea of a chatbot type because you can include like explanations. Well, what is the interest rate, or what is the transfer out, and so forth, and so different things. Now, when they do withdrawals, like typically what was happening, you withdraw from your plan,
Yes.
and it's like, yeah, I'm getting the money now.
Gonna call 'em.
But guess what? When you get your pension at the end,
Yes.
you're going to be charged interest. Well, it depends on the plan
Yes,
rules, but you're going to be charged interest from the time you got that money
Like an insurance plan.
all
Okay.
the way to your 65.
Yeah.
And that comes out of your pension thing. But you need to be able to see that up front to decide before you take
That's
a withdrawal.
interesting. Okay. Fair enough.
Right? But right now, people need the money. I'm going to withdraw, a hard strip withdrawal.
Right.
They're not giving anything to say this is the impact it has on your pension. So we do need it, but the proposed route and from some Swiss company, I couldn't agree with that at all.
Sorry, Mr. Premier.
Yeah.
Good evening, caller. Thank you for your patience. What's your question or comment? And welcome to Insight on Sunday evening on Medic 102.7 on your Sunday evening. What's your question or comment?
And thank you once again. Being that it's speaking about pension, I keep changing the conversation. I would just wanted to comment, but one issue that we do have when it comes to the collection of our pension, we must make sure 100% that all that are responsible for those collections going towards our pension in whatever form it's supposed to be in, that those people are doing that, because we were finding people who gets up to whatever age they decide to retire and find out the collection has been taken out, but the money did not go in. And that's one of the first things that needs to be.
That's for social insurance, not for the government pension or the public service pension.
Well, either way, it's going to affect one or the other. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just putting that in there in the sense that all of it is a part of your pension, your collection. So you have to go from one to the other. And I'm just mentioning that because that's an issue, regardless who's taking it out.
He's going to let his answer. Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller. Yeah, I mean, we're really talking about the options and the decisions you have to make. I mean, that's an issue of collection. But I do want to mention one thought that I just had. We were talking about emigration.
Yes.
Emigration, in a sense, can affect your pensions.
Oh, very
Think
much.
about it.
Yes.
Because as people go, there are less people putting into that bucket that I was talking about. If companies move from Bermuda and go overseas, particularly high-paying roles, there are less people putting into the bucket, and that means that then as far as the money coming out of the bucket, that's where the issue is. And just to one comment on the bucket itself, so money goes into the bucket and money comes out. There becomes an issue when more is going to be coming out than is going in. And this is the reason why this Pension Amendment Act 2025 was put in place, is that to prevent the plan from running out of money. because the amount of money coming in would not eventually cover all of the payments that needed to actually go out. And then,
So, okay, sorry.
and then my last thing on the types of pensions, if you're transferring your pension from one plan to another as well, make sure you understand the impact. So I'm not familiar with all the different plans. I just familiar with the concept and how it works and all that. That because when you transfer out, it takes your pension, all the money you would have got up until you died or whatever, and converts that into a lump sum.
Yes.
And then as a result of that, there's actually penalty. So you actually lose money. So if you're changing your pension between, different pension providers, you need to be aware of how much that's costing you.
Yes, okay, gotcha. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, caller, for that. Again, to the listening audience, thank you for joining us here on Magic 102.7. On your Sunday evening, our guest is Mr. Michael Jones, a Bermudian who left. He's come back now. Explained that the impetus initially was because of his son. He wanted his son to have a more focused schooling around IT. And him coming back is this larger than life, he says, in terms of becoming back to mentor, to be here physically and to do the things that's going to assist us all. And on a bigger scale, I guess, would be to assist the government and others in terms of doing more data analysis as opposed to data descriptions.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And public as well. That's because right now, and that's why I believe it's interesting because it's interesting that the Chamber of Commerce are doing, they've got doing good people doing the good stuff and doing that. And the reason why I believe that's being done is because the information, the basic stuff that's coming out of the department is not sufficient for them, so they have to do their and they feel more confident with their analysis. But that's a private analysis. So what we're trying to do is a similar sort of thing, but to make the analysis and the reports available to the public. The findings, anything interesting that comes out of that is on data.bm. They will all be on data.bm. We also, on data.bm, we can actually host data if somebody wants to share data publicly.
Yes.
So if you've got a bunch of data, you've been collecting data for years and stuff, and you want to share it with the public because you want to let people do research on it and so forth, we can then host that data for you and let people to actually extract that and do research and stuff on it as well.
I'm going to take this call and come back to you because I want to now understand some more information around data.bm because I did not know it existed, and I guess others didn't either. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening. Your guest, when he originally left Bermuda and went over to England, now, England doesn't have an HB1 visa program.
I had a British passport.
Right.
You had a British passport.
Yeah, that's that.
So I guess that HB1 visa, that's more the U.S. side of things.
Yes. Caller, are you familiar with the call that Bermudians are able to get a UK passport and therefore be UK citizens?
Oh yes, I'm aware of that. I also, I'm sort of was wondering, can that work on your regular Bermuda passport also?
I'm not understanding.
Before getting the British passport. You see what I'm saying?
Well, the British passport gives you indefinite leave to remain, so you can stay out in the UK, right? So you won't have to leave after 90 days or whatever it is. Yeah,
basically, yeah.
Yeah, so it gives you want indefinite leave to remain. So that means you can just stay in there, you can work and do whatever and so forth. That's why you want the British passport.
Oh, okay. I'm with you now. I was just getting a little confused.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yes. Okay.
Between the two passports.
Okay.
Between your regular Bermuda passport and the British passport.
Right.
Right, because I know my daughter, she got her British passport, and she has a Bermuda passport.
Yes.
Right. So, me, on the other hand, I used to work in the States, so I was under the HB1 visa program.
Yes.
Until that fellow in the White House changed it, and sort of upset me, but that's where that's at.
So you've come back recently, caller?
What's that?
So you came back to Bermuda recently?
I've been back on the island for about 7 months now.
7 months, okay.
Oh.
And if you don't mind, hopefully your voice is not recognized by anybody else, because my question is, what caused you to go and what caused you to come back, similar to the question we asked Mr. Jones tonight?
Right. What caused me to go was that I got placed after Cornell University.
Oh, wow.
I was placed at San Francisco.
Okay.
And I went on to England and then Brussels, back to the United States for 15 years. Then I came home.
So how long were you off island altogether?
36 years.
Oh, a long time. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And now you're back. And you're back now. And why are you back? Not that's the wrong question. But what caused you to come back?
Well, one, my passport has to be renewed.
Okay.
Two, the HB1 visa program has changed.
Yes.
Because under President Trump, he changed it that the only way you could get an HB1 visa now is that you need to have a master's degree or a doctorate.
Okay.
I only have double bachelor's.
Fair enough. Not only, but okay.
Right.
Yes.
So that puts me back home until I get my passport renewed. Then
Sure.
we will put down something and see where we go from there.
Okay. Well, excellent, caller. You have actually answered the same question in terms of the Bermuda is coming back. The question is, what expertise do they have? And they go from there. Okay, so thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, no problem.
All right. And that leads to my next question, Mike, which is, we talked about it earlier, or not talked about it, mentioned it briefly, in terms of what do you think are appropriate incentives to get Bermudans back? Because that's been one of the comments also, that we need to get Bermudans back to wherever they are for a variety of reasons.
And again, that my journey was very subjective and focused on my needs going out and my needs coming back, so to speak.
Sure.
If I could try and even, there are different types of Bermudians going for different reasons.
Yes.
So if I'm going to school and I get a degree, do I stay out there or do I come back?
Yes.
Right? If I'm in Bermuda already and, I'm looking for greener pastures, do I jump over there and go back? What can bring me back in that, stead?
Yes.
Or if I'm in a career out there, or I've been out there for a long time, like 30 years or whatever, what then can bring you back? I mean, some of the challenges that I had, which I think everybody would pretty much have, unless you're sort of a student going out and you come back several times in a year, because you're not really uprooting and so forth. But anybody who uproots, like we did, coming back, we had a cost to relocate back to Bermuda.
Okay.
So that's one thing.
You told me, of course, like shipping your goods back, all that kind of stuff.
Shipping and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And and that we found that quite interesting, because we had to ship our stuff out of. We were in Oxford, and we had to ship our stuff out of Liverpool, and so what was interesting though, the cost in Bermuda to clear and deliver our stuff was just about the same or a little bit more than the cost to ship the goods from Liverpool to Bermuda.
Gotcha. Yes, understood. Yeah.
So I mean, it's things, but I mean that's part of Bermuda. So coming back, we were planned to stay at one place. Then at sort of the last minute, we had to adjust our plans because renovations had to be done on the property and so forth.
Yes.
And this was at really last minute. And so the stuff was already on the ship, ready to come home and so forth, tickets bought. So we really couldn't do anything. And so we were out there and we didn't have anywhere to go. So fortunately enough, someone who attended the church we were in Oxford knew somebody in Bermuda. And so we came back home to Bermuda, and we were blessed by someone for an apartment for 1 month. So housing, big issue.
Okay, housing.
So housing was a big issue.
Yes.
Because it was unexpected for us having to find housing. So housing was a big issue. We were there 1 month, and then we managed to find somewhere else temporarily again for 3 months. Then we went into a guest house, which was crazy and expensive. And I'm just sharing this because
that's fine.
it's real what
Yeah.
people have to go through.
Yes.
And create crazy money, and then just recently we managed to find somewhere else. So, and I made a comment to you that technically. We're like homeless.
Oh,
because,
trust me.
because we, our situation is still precarious.
Yeah.
It's not like we even have our own permanent address and all the rest of it. But it's interesting. You could see me, going into town, going into work, doing all this stuff, and look at me. You'll never think.
Yes.
I'm
Okay.
doing this.
Okay.
And so it's important for people to understand that, anything can put you in a place.
Yes.
And even if you have resources, that doesn't guarantee you a place.
I got you. Understood. Okay, so one of the things I guess would be that for Bermuda to incentivize people to come back,
Yes.
provide housing of
Yes.
some sort.
Relocation assistance, I
Okay.
would say. So whether that be, help with getting things back, and perhaps housing, that would be. And what was interesting to me is that I had taken on a contract after I came back, and this was my question: was I hadn't yet found anything. If I would have had the contract when I was overseas, like
Yes.
signed on the dotted line there, they would have assisted me with finding housing. But
Okay.
because I came to
Okay.
Bermuda
Yeah.
and then got the contract,
Yes.
right? Then they wouldn't assist or couldn't assist, right?
Yeah.
So my thing is, if returning Bermudians are coming back, then the assistance needs to be there. Whether I'm still relocating, and so I would still need that assistance. So that was something that I thought that we could do better as Bermudians on.
Okay.
So housing, I mean healthcare.
Healthcare. Okay.
That's what everybody actually has issues with that. So I won't go into those two. Now, one of the things, obviously, I said I had intended to come back to do certain things and so forth.
Yes.
So I was looking for partnership and collaboration because obviously I can't do it all on my own. I can do the structure for my course and training and so forth, and put certain things in place, but I still needed a place to do the training and partners to work with and so forth. So I reached out to some organizations and stuff. And interestingly enough, for some of them, it was no response, which just blew me. It just blew me. So I said, okay, this is what I would like to do.
Yes.
And I'd like to talk, at least discuss about if we could partner and so forth. Never had a response.
Wow.
One was from January 25 to now,
A year, you mean, or I'm calling months?
a year.
Okay.
So, and one of them was, I had particular interest in the minimum wage and stuff and all, because actually my thesis or my master's was about that same thing. And so I reached out and said, listen, I have an interest of being involved in this project. This is what I can offer, and blah, 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 blah. Someone got back to me, and I said, well, this is what I'm looking, to do. And that was July, and last year, and I haven't heard anything. So, so I mean, it's one thing I find. It's like you reach out, you try, and you got momentum coming back. I'm coming back. I'm pushing through. You got momentum, and then you try and get partnership, and nobody responds. And so you have to do it all on your own, and that's going to be a challenge.
Okay, understood.
You have to try and do it all on my own, so to speak.
So I'm going to come back to that in a minute. This caller's been very patient. Let's take this caller and then come back to you. Good evening, caller. Thank you for your patience indeed. What's your question or comment?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, good evening. Your guess is absolutely right. There has to be a housing component in order to entice people to come back to the island. Because, like you say, I'd like to pack up and shift. I was in the States. The nearest shipping port from me was Turtle Cross on the East Coast in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I had to pay inland freight, freight for the boat, freight to get it off the boat.
Sure.
And then my container sat, my furniture and all that sat I think it was at Island Construction for about 4 months.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that was charges because they ain't gonna put it down there for free. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So a housing component, for what I don't understand, is that when you attract foreign workers to the island, they get a housing program, a housing contract.
But I guess, but that's not provided by government, though. That's provided by the individual employer.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, understood.
So like me, I was told that I'm in hotel management, and that's a niche.
Yes.
And I couldn't understand because I understand that the firma Princess is getting ready to reopen.
Yes, that's correct.
You know, and I haven't actually been up here.
Well, let me give a PR for the hotel, because if I'm not mistaken, there's actually a government-sponsored or government-assisted program on this Wednesday, March the 18th. And so if you have the skill set, or because you have the skill set, make sure you attend and put your name there and see what happens.
And that's where? At the hotel?
That's a good question. Somebody call me, let me know where it's held, please. The details of that. I know I'm pretty sure it's on the 18th. Or we'll find out before the show goes off. How about that? And come back to you.
No worries. I keep listening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Lot, guys.
No worries.
Sure.
And another thing as well, those that go away, they're typically may experience a higher level of either education or experience and so forth. I'm saying, people, if you're going abroad to either improve your education or even just work and so forth, just that experience can raise your level. So one of the challenges is when you come back and the level that you're at is not easily or readily available in Bermuda, and there's like a gap.
Yes.
And that can also be a challenge as well. So in order for you to sort of get a job or do this or that,
yes.
You sometimes have to go backwards. And I think that's going to be a challenge in itself as well. So recognizing the talent that's been acquired overseas, the skill sets and so forth, and then try and cultivate that more in Bermuda, rather than them coming back and getting frustrated because as they try and bring those new ideas and new skill sets and stuff.
Okay.
That's what I come up against.
Different. So you come up with, I want to say, all this energy,
yes,
and it's not matched. In fact, it's deflated once you get back to Bermuda.
But you get here, and then if you're engaged, the level that you're engaged at is so.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then you're forced to go, and that's why I'm consulting now. So you're forced to go back on you. So that's the whole point is you come back, right?
Yes.
To take something that you didn't have when you left, you bring that back to Bermuda, then to spread it and teach and mentor and stuff with it. But then there's
that's very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of talk about AI and stuff. There's a lot of talk about, I guess, this new 2 million initiative at government to doing all this. But it's interesting as well. And I would think that there's probably lots of opportunity for digital transformation at government. Whether they have all the staff, I don't know. But certainly getting on these pilot projects, which is good not only to test out new technology, but also as learning and training. So I would hope that these digital transformation projects that are going on in government, people are getting trained and so forth, and it's not necessarily just the overseas people that are sort of benefiting from it. We got to bring people along. That's one of my motivations for coming back. Is legacy is about bringing people along. Legacy goes on long after you.
Yes, of course. Okay, just to the caller just now. This is the beauty of Google, by the way. You just what I'm going to be doing online is that it's called the government. Well, it's called the Hospitality Industry Career Fair, which is on Wednesday, March the 18th, from 10 o'clock in the morning to 2 p.m. in the afternoon at the Princess Room at the Hamilton Princess. And so, caller, it's at Hamilton Princess on Wednesday from 10 to 2, and you have the expertise in hospitality. So please, I would encourage you, I don't know you, of course, but please encourage you to go and participate, put your name forward, and see what happens from that point of view. Caller, thank you for your patience. What's your question or comment? Oh, time's
good
flying.
evening. I was just calling you to let you know where it was going to be held and what time, so you have that information
good.
already.
Again.
However, I have one other question for your guest speaker there.
Mike Jones,
I
yes.
wanted to know that that data that he's collecting for the analysis of his project that he's bringing forward, and he wants to introduce that to Bermuda.
Mm-hmm.
Can he also tie in the data analysis for the Bermudans that live in the UK that are struggling and that are being put out, even by their family members, and some of my farm that I was there, sleeping
Right.
in a bus stop and didn't have no way out.
Right.
I wanted to know whether you can do the analysis on how Bermuda could reach out to those type people that are
Yes.
getting lost and becoming a problem in England as far as criminal activities. It's not that they really want to do it; it's just that they don't have any help.
Yes.
They really don't. Family is enticing people to come there.
Right.
And then they're putting them out after they get there because they found out they're not able to sustain themselves.
Oh,
Right.
that's interesting.
So you need to have you need to have that tied in.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, caller. Appreciate that.
That's
Okay.
good. And I intentionally didn't go down that road, Anthony, when we spoke earlier about
Yes.
people going out for certain things, because I am aware of there's different things, and people can experience that. But the caller is absolutely right. This is why one of the reasons why I'm focused so much on the data
Okay.
is to be able to collect that, and then we can actually see what we need to do with it. Without the data,
Uh-huh.
we can't really do anything with it.
That's good then, because it speaks to the fact that it's not all, as I say, peaches and cream in the UK.
Oh, no.
For some that go there.
Oh no.
Okay.
For the majority, it's not.
Isn't?
And that's why I kept saying my case is unique.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
had the capital, I
Yes.
planned, I done this, I done that.
Oh, wow.
So if you just get on the plane and go,
Uh-huh.
it's
Oh.
yeah, it's not, if you, and this is why I said if you had a guarantor, you may be able to rent a property and stuff like that. No, and if you just go and you stay with your mates and stuff out there, and if they're not secure and whatever,
understood.
then you put yourself at risk. And it's not a fun place to be
Okay, I can
out there
imagine.
like that. It could be worse than being in Bermuda.
Sure.
Yeah.
Before we close, for sure, right? Talk some more, please, about data.pm, because you've mentioned it a few times.
Yes.
It's a brilliant, in my mind, brilliant idea in terms of, if I might summarize, you're talking about the fact of having all this data summary that's publicly available
Yes.
and being able to be extracted and used by whomever. So
Yes.
I want to go, for example, and find out, I don't know, prices or something like
Yes.
that. And you're suggesting that there should be data available publicly
Yes.
to be analyzed
Yes.
and used by whomever.
Right. So here's the thing.
That's amazing.
Right. So the statistics departments are a source of truth with data because they collect it, they do all the surveys and so forth. That will form the base data that we have. I would then take that data and do different analysis on it that's maybe applicable to answer different types of questions people answer.
Sure.
And then those reports and analysis would then be made available publicly, right? And so if you were interested in, a particular topic,
Yes.
you yourself could go to the Department of Statistics and ask for some census data or whatever.
Okay.
You can do that,
Uh-huh.
but you may not be able to do the analysis yourself.
So are you suggesting, for example, that the data is now there somewhere? I can ask a question and somebody like you or whatever the program would be
Yeah.
would answer my question for me.
Well, yes.
Wow.
The idea is, again,
Okay.
Statistics Department produce the data.
Yes. So they
right?
have
But
let's say they have
that's
accurate data.
Yeah, it's our source of truth
Yes.
for data in Bermuda, because when they do the census, they come to everybody,
Okay.
and hopefully people answer that truthfully. So that's that's coming from the horse's mouth. So they have that, right?
Yes.
But that's in raw form.
Okay.
Okay. It's in counts and different things like that. But what we need to be able
Okay.
to do is get the anonymized, the actual data, the detailed data.
Yes.
And then we can do analysis on it to give you different questions that you might ask. So
And so my question, being a financial person, then would be: so how do you propose for that to be funded? Who's going to pay you, let's say, or whatever it is, to do the analysis?
well, I've self-funded all my stuff. So one of the things that Data.bm would do is that public data, like I have election data, like all the election data is up to now. I have census data and stuff like that. Public data that you could get from Department of Statistics.
Yes.
You'll be able to get no problem. But any analysis that I do would be for members of the site. So that's more in deep and in depth. So there will probably be a little fee or something that will be paid that will help support the analysis work and so forth.
Okay.
And the other thing is I am going to try to see the form of it. It may look to go down the charity route, so that I can try and raise funds to support that, so people don't have to pay it.
Sure.
They can still get the information and so
understood.
forth,
Wow.
so that it's still done to sustain it. But everything so far, and everything that I've done, has been self-funded.
Right.
And so that was one of my other issues about having capital available and stuff. So if Bermudians are bringing back ideas and good ideas to implement in Bermuda, how can we then get that capital so that we can get these projects off the ground? And even if it's not money capital, it could be those partnerships,
Yes.
using rooms or collaborations with other technical people and so forth.
Right. And I exclaim, because we keyed in right now, it's there. You can't go to...
It's been there for years.
Well, yeah, that's it's interesting. So Data.bm is an online repository of Bermuda data.
Yeah.
Publicly available data can be accessed free of charge. Descriptive statistics and analysis are provided on a pay-per-use basis to members. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so to the Bermuda listening audience, that's brilliant in terms of it's not just talk, this is here, it's live.
And that's what I've come back
Available.
to finish. It's been there for a while and I've been busy, so I've come back to finish this.
Okay.
Right? So that's another reason why I've come back to Bermuda.
Well, and so again, as I said to you, a lot of times as our guests, they say, well, it's 2 hours, whatever, time flies. Guess what? We'll be on 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so what I want to give you is a chance now to, what final comments do you want to give to the listening audience? What lasting comments? Clearly, you may have to come back again as a guest in the not too distant future, but what other comments would you want to give to the listening audience in terms of what you do and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, this situation that we have in Bermuda, for people coming back, for shooting, for gangs,
I don't want to
for
go there,
housing.
Yes,
no, I'm just saying in general. We're not going deep in it.
No, I knew, but yes.
The state of Bermuda.
Yes.
Right? And when we look at the state of Bermuda, it's not the immigrants or the immigrants or the gangs and stuff that's culpable for that.
Yes.
It's leadership.
Wow.
Right? Leadership is culpable. Leadership is put in place to create an environment for people to thrive and develop and move forward.
Okay.
So if there is this going on in your society, then there's an issue with our leadership we have.
Okay.
Leadership are stewards of our resources, and we need resources and relationships to solve these problems. So we can come and have these conversations, but it's the politicians,
I got you, yes.
right, who can sign off the resources to get things done. Even in our education and so forth, right? We've got a lot of money that come in CIT, right? It would have been nice to try even address some of one of the issues we have is that the barrier to entry into a lot of these jobs and stuff is education, bachelor's degree, whatever, and so forth, right? But we have this barrier in Bermuda where we have, quite a few associate's degrees, right?
Yes.
So why couldn't we fund them, right, to finish off the degrees to get a bachelor's degree to come, and that would help to raise, to raise, not all of them, because some of them are 50 and whatever, but a group of them, right? Because what we have to do, this whole minimum wage thing was about trying to raise the standard of living, right?
Yes.
It's not going to do it, right? In order to raise the standard of living, one of the suggestions I would say is that we have to change the distribution of education throughout the households in Bermuda.
That's amazing.
So if we can change the distribution of education, we change the distribution of income.
Okay.
See, we're trying to change the education system, do this and do that. Why can't we say, well, every household should have a bachelor's degree or whatever? I mean,
that's interesting. Okay.
And it won't cost as much as we think. And I haven't done the numbers, so that's I'm sort of reluctant to go deep in it.
Sure.
But we have to think differently. We have to think outside of the things. We can put a policy in place that says we guarantee that after Bermuda College that you're going to get your degree and so forth, and we will guarantee that, because that is actually an impediment, because not everybody can afford to go away to school and all the rest of it and finish that.
Well, what I'm going to do is, which is unfair, right, is put a pin in that, because
Yes.
I'm mindful that that's a whole different subject, right?
Yes.
But it's different, that's for sure, in terms of having objectives per household.
Yes.
And so this is what I'll do is, to listening audience, I will touch base with Mr. Jones off air, and then we'll find out a time for him to come back, not like right now, but not too far from now either, and see how that goes. We'll take this couple, the lines are lit up. I'll take these couple of calls before we go tonight. Good evening, caller. What's your question or comment?
Yes, good evening, Anthony.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. The data that the gentleman is trying to collect, where does it back up onto the privacy laws?
Okay. Well, it'll be anonymized, but go ahead.
One of the things.
Thank you, caller. That's an excellent question.
That's a good question. One of the things is that where the data is actually being hosted is actually on Microsoft servers who are security certified and stuff. So we don't do the security ourselves. We actually host it on secure. So we leave that to the big boys to do all the security and stuff.
But I think part of his question there was, for example, that Anthony wears size, whatever size I wear,
Yes.
is to make sure, how do you make sure that data is not used in a way whereby it contradicts the privacy laws?
Well, remember what we're talking about is publicly available data.
Protocol, yeah.
So the data that we have on data.bm is publicly available.
Okay.
So it's
So
not going to
like
contradict.
sales and that kind of thing, not so much.
No, it's the statistics, and if we do have, if they do provide individual level records, it's anonymized, so you wouldn't know who it is anyway,
Okay, gotcha.
right? And the analysis.
And just to be clear, what does anonymize mean?
It means that they remove any personal identifiable information.
Gotcha.
So if we have a list of information about you, your age, your sex, or whatever, then your name, your birth date, your address, and all that's all gone. So we just have a male. This age, this sex, lives in this area,
Gotcha.
whatever it is.
Fair enough.
So the Department of Statistics will do that before they give the data.
Yes.
They will make sure that that's safe.
Okay, well done. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, good evening. I'm sorry I called back because
okay.
I wanted to ask the gentleman, does he know about the Bermuda charitable organization that they have? It's a global network that Bermuda is part of, and could he tap into that to help finance his project that he's going to be doing for Bermuda, as well as tap into that same information that I'm giving you about the global charitable network that we are part of for those Bermudians that are sick or they need the extra hand and they can't make it up out there. I know it's available to us all. But I don't think we go into that, so I'm just asking about that.
Good. He took a note, so any comment?
All right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
thank you.
Thank you very much, caller.
Because I could have gave her,
You can respond.
Yeah, I could have gave her an email address. to
Just
send
respond.
something. Yeah.
Just listening.
Yes, caller, thank you for that. There's actually another site out there called Bermuda Cares, and I've set that up as an advocacy, and that is a site that we want to advocate for people who need things, and there may be other people out there that can actually provide them. So I'm very interested in being able to get that data that you actually mentioned, and if you have any information, you can send me an email, and I'll give you this email. It's needs NEEDS at, and it's Bermuda Cares BermudaCares.bm. BermudaCares.bm. Yeah. So it's needs at BermudaCares.bm.
So it's needs at BermudaCares.bm.
Yes.
Okay.
And then that will come through, and I will get that, and then I can actually sort of hook back up and so forth.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if I can do the last plug, the idea behind Bermuda Cares is that, and if you go to the site BermudaCares.bm, it's a one-page thing, but it explains our attitude towards giving and helping people.
Okay.
And if you read that one page and it resonates with you, and you know somebody who needs something, or if you yourself have a seed that you can give,
Okay.
then just put it in, and it's anonymous, right? And then we will actually get back to you and to see if we can connect your seed with somebody's need. And that's the way we can try and help people. Sometimes people don't want to put their name out there and all the rest, but we can help them do it anonymously.
Well, excellent. Always happens. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Good night, Mr. Richardson.
Good night.
Very good program.
Thank you,
Is
sir.
it possible for Mr. Jones to arrange a public meeting at one of our halls, in Kenyon Hall or wherever?
Sure. Anything's possible.
I'd love to hear him in person.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Well,
That way they can vote. You can't vote on the radio.
well, it wouldn't be a vote, but yeah, it'd be a good conversation. Okay. I'll let him take up that challenge and see when he can do it, and then hopefully work with him to make it happen. How about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Also, he mentioned something about a John PPJ.
That's not his studies, you mean?
Yes, some gentleman by the name of John PPJ.
John Piaget. He was one of the forerunners about intelligence, and he done some seminal work on intelligence, like how the brain works and how we grow, how our brain goes from childhood and so forth. It's Jean. He's French. Jean Piaget. Piaget. Yeah. So he's a French guy that done some great work on how we learn, imitation versus playing and learning and assimilating in our environments and stuff. So
he's an author.
Oh yeah. So yeah.
I'm trying to get at the bookstore.
Yeah. If you look at John P. Oh yeah, he's got lots of stuff. If you would really want to get deep on intelligence. And that goes back to the fundamental things. It goes through different stages of development from when we're born and bringing us all the way through so that we actually understand how we learn. And then that will make it clear that machines, AI in other words, can never duplicate what this gentleman is saying, how intelligence works. Because there's nothing dynamic about the AI, because like I said, it's more like a parrot regurgitating something that it's already already consumed. And for it to consume new stuff, they have to go and God knows how long it will take to retrain it again before new stuff. And one thing about us humans, our brains, we pick up things right away. And we assimilate it in our brain. Once we see it, we record it, then we can call it and so forth. So just for some light reading at nighttime or whatever, Jean Piaget. It's called the intellect, something of the intellect. I forgot the name of the book. But if you go under Jean Piaget, any of his books will take you into intelligence. Yes.
Good. Okay.
Thank you so much. And also LLM, large language
model. Yes.
Database.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a dictionary, computer dictionary.
Yes, I called it a dictionary because it has loads of words and it has some numbers that give us relationships of the words. And when you type something in ChatGPT, it goes in and looks up, this is what they need to see.
Good.
And then it shows it on the screen for you.
So excellent, caller. Thank you.
Simulation, imitation, and artificial knowledge.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You've done a good job. I would love to be in a meeting with you.
Okay.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that.
Doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Take care now.
Okay, bye-bye. Caller? Caller? Good evening. We'll get to the very end, sure. Be concise, but go ahead.
Straight to the point. John Piaget.
Yes.
Was the guy that wrote the book on the human brain
No.
and the retention of memory?
No, he's more about intelligence. So it was not so much brain. He done the initial work on how we develop. So it was more about stages of development and how our
he was the guy that wrote the book on. I read the book.
Oh,
no problem. There wasn't questions.
He did it on stages from 1 to 3.
yes.
5 to 7.
There you go. Yes.
7 to 9.
That's the book. Yeah.
And on the way up.
Yes, that's it.
Right. I'm with you. It's a good read. It will make you sit down and read, might have to read it twice to understand it.
Right, but I think it's page 7 of the book that gives you a clear. It's one page that gives you a summary of the everything, and it talks about the intellect, assimilation, and imitation. That's the core of it. If you can get you can understand how our brains develop and how our intelligence develops and so forth.
Yeah, that's correct, and how it imitates.
Yes.
And how it simulates and breaks down.
Yes.
Into different categories. I say categories, but different stage groups.
Okay.
And how they go about doing it. But anyhow, I'm with you. Like I said, I got that book. Well, I ain't got it already.
Well done. Thank you, Cola.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Again, Google is right here. Yeah. So it talks about the fact is the 4 stages of development is cognitive development from sensory motor from 0 to 2, pre-operational from 2 to 7, concrete operation from 7 to 11, and to formal operational, which is 12 years plus. So keep on going.
Yeah.
But again, I want to say thank you. Definitely a different topic, not a different topic, a different type of discussion tonight.
Yes.
Quite illuminating. And so that last caller, or second last caller's comment about having a town hall, which means not so much a town hall, but a public meeting. It'd be interesting that we have to then figure out to do it in a way by which people are interested to come.
Yes.
Because it's not a natural subject, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But in any event, I would say thank you. It goes to show, again, the value of communication. And as I said earlier, right? Yes. We formed a relationship way back when at high school. When I first met you, never knew you existed until that time, right?
Yes.
And so, again, thank you. Looking forward to the next opportunity.
Yes.
And for those that participated tonight, please make sure you do something that comes out of this and not just, okay, I heard and walk away from it. It's been a quite constructive conversation. He had a plan as to why he went overseas. And he said this many times also, he didn't just go. You had a plan. He was able to manage yourself, and now you're back to some good things. And so looking forward to seeing what you're doing. And again, do stay in touch. Bermuda, I always close by saying, please, 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 if you're out and about early, now because it is in the morning, it's still dark, as I say. So please wear a high visibility vest or a light or something so we can see you early. This morning was quite foggy, which made it even worse. So please, please, please be very careful out in the roads. And again, slow down, slow down, slow down. You get there. And I know the slogan before from the Road Safety Council was, you want to arrive alive. And to be honest, every weekend now, I get a bit concerned because I believe that somebody is not going to make it home in one piece. And so please, again, please slow down and let's make it happen. To Bermuda again, thank you for joining us here on Magic 102.7 FM for another edition of Insight. Looking forward to doing it, God willing, next week with a different topic, and you will see what that is. So thank you, and thank you again. What happened?
You may feel guilty that so much of your time is spent listening to one radio station. Oh, don't feel guilty.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now. 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 Bermuda Live.